What is poppin', everybody? You are watching Denver Broncos tonight, November 26th, 2025. A couple of days before the NFL season. Let me adjust my lens real quick. Adjust my lens. No, I wasn't trying to zoom in. Alrighty. Wait, let me just toy with this just a little more. Okay, I think that'll do. I'll play with my camera settings here in a little bit, or I'll play with them and you guys will get a more consistent view of me. But regardless, hope you guys are enjoying your Blackout Thursday on this lovely edition of Denver Broncos Tonight. Blackout Wednesday, right? Blackout Wednesday is like the day before Thanksgiving where everybody just gets messed up. Me personally, I work at a restaurant, and the Irish bar that's next door to us was absolutely loaded with high schoolers and college people who are home for the holidays. So, it looked like there were just not too many people who were actually 21 there. And honestly, the Irish bar, they don't give two shits. So, whatever, not my problem. But either way, I hope you guys are enjoying your lovely Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and I hope you guys are going to love this edition of Denver Broncos Tonight. So while we are waiting for some people to show up, as we always do, we are going to go to PFF, and I'm just going to tell you my thoughts about the Roach extension. I'm going to tell you my thoughts about the Watt extension, because they really didn't get to do that the other day. So we're going to add this to the screen. Alrighty. So Roach. Malcolm Roach. Okay, so I'm going to be honest, these grades, they just flat out do not track with a lot of what I saw. The grades just flat out do not track with a lot of what I've seen out of Malcolm Roach lately. I'm just being so for real. Like PFF, we know they hate Zach Allen, but for whatever reason, I feel like this year they also hate Malcolm Roach. And pulling up my stream on YouTube so I can monitor the chat easier. Either way. This is an interactive show, as always, so make sure you guys are being as interactive as possible in the chat. All right, here we go. All right, cool. So we got Malcolm Roach right here, and just being so for real, like, I don't agree with a lot of these grades. I don't agree with a lot of these grades because of the fact that, during free agency, I don't know. Or what am I trying to say? While we were discussing on whether or not Malcolm Roach is a free agent, if he was consistently dropping like sub 60 PFF grades, I don't think everybody might even trying to say. I don't know. I can't speak right now because I'm too busy thinking about this question that Mr. David Talks just sent me right here. If we got $33 million in cap space in free agency, tell me what Kodiak does. Well, I'm trying to. Nah. I just saw that comment, David. Hold on. I got to charge my mouse real quick because suddenly it died. But I'll move stuff around here pretty soon. I do not go full Howie Roseman and re-sign JFM. I think since Roach is getting 10 mil a year and Wahlberg's going to be getting 12, like those guys, they're not going to be. You could feasibly still do it, but you'd have to really front load JFM's deal. And I think he wants something longer than like you could afford a 2-year contract, really, but that's at most. Before Allen's extension gets monstrous, before Benito's extension gets monstrous, because usually in 4-year contracts, the year that gets really, really big is usually the 3rd year. So if we're thinking 2028 between both those extensions, what happens is, all right, so they play out the contracts for this season. 26, they do whatever. 27, they do whatever. 2028, that's when we start to look at some really, really big cap hits. And yeah, but at the end of the day, JFM, like, I just don't think there's room for him. I I really don't. As much as I would love for us to sign JFM, and I hear people say this a lot during the time, when I was criticizing our draft last year And when people are criticizing the trade deadline, people said, we're not a draft team. We're not a trade team. We're a free agency team. And I'm just like, you can't keep holding, like, yeah, you got some nice pieces. You got Roach, Brandon Jones, Powers, McGlinchey, the first offseason we were here, Allen, Stidham. This past offseason, you got Greenlaw, Hufanga, Ingram, Dobbins. And all those guys have contributed in big ways for us at some point or another. That being said, like, no, I don't re-sign JFM at this point. Like, I think it sucks, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I think, oh, shit. Let's go. Let's go. I appreciate you, Mr. Tox. Mr. Tox coming in here with these super chats. Obviously, I appreciate you all. Once again, you guys do not owe me money for this. Please do not feel obligated to give me any money. Oh, wait, let me see. Did you? Oh, shit. Yeah. Okay. This is a really... All right, yeah. I would be more than happy to review your mock draft. So, disclaimer, I really haven't looked at this class too in depth yet. I'm just being so for real. Like, I have barely looked at this class, if I'm being honest. I barely know the prospects outside of, like, the real blue chippers. Besides, what's that guy's name? Jennings. Shit. This is going to bother me. Jennings Dunker. Okay. Like, hold on. Like, I'm sorry, but do you guys not want this guy on your team? Do you guys not want this guy on your team? Like, I'm being so for real. I am being so for real. Do you not want Jennings Dunker on your team? Be honest. There is no way this guy is not an absolute mammoth in the NFL. Like, I'm sorry, but he reminds me of Lan Larison and Quinn Miners, where he just looks good on, where he just passes the test on looks alone. He just straight up does. Okay. So we've got the David Talks Broncos mock draft. And I know that a lot of people last night were like, oh, why are we looking at mock drafts? You know, it's November and we're a competing team. Well, the good thing about the NFL draft is it is 365 days a year. So, dude, I would love Dunker to be our first round pick. Okay. So thank you. Shout out to my boy David for texting me his mock draft. There are a few things that stick out to me, like Trey Zune and Bryson Washington. I'm going to be honest. Listen, I'm a very huge casual when it comes to college football. So my knowledge is pretty much exclusively based on the video game. That being said, I'm surprised Bryson Washington is still available in the 7th round. And I'm surprised that, what's his name? Who was I looking for? Trey Zune. Isn't he a local kid? Yeah, he's from Fossil Ridge. He went to Fossil Ridge up there in Fort Collins. So, that's kind of interesting. Either way, Zune also played left tackle and center this year. Dude, that's fantastic. You know, I like the idea of going with a local kid for our offensive line back in 2019 with Dalton Reisner. Ultimately, didn't really work out in the way that we had hoped for a second-round pick. Like, was he a bad player? No, but for a second-round pick, it's definitely something you'd like. Here's the deal. So, obviously, we have wide receiver round 1. So, I'm just going to go position by position. And, you know, I think position by position, I think it looks good. I think first-round wideout would be – I think if the draft had betting odds today, which it will soon, but if the draft had betting odds today, the Broncos' first position to be picked, wideout, would definitely have favorite odds. It wouldn't be high because if you actually bet on those, it's really, really hard to get it right. That being said, I don't know much about Casey Concepcion other than I think he's a speed demon. Hold on. 40 time? Okay. Maybe he is not just a speed demon. Either way, I kind of had those questions about Zay Flowers when he was coming out. It turns out Zay Flowers is a pretty good route runner, but yeah. Max Clare. I don't know much about him either, but I know Mark took him in the 2nd round in his mock draft today too. Chase Pasantis, yeah. See, this is another thing. I want a guy I want a high IQ receiver. Like, I'm just being so for real. I want a high IQ receiver with good hand-eye coordination and good hands. Uh, and I want a good route runner. So, I know that that's kind of not what we've gotten from our wide receiver room, which is why I think if we are going to add someone who's missing that, we're big on the role guys, but we need to draft that guy who can really take over a game. Concepcion, from what I understand, is like, what is he, 5'11", like 190. So he is probably, just based on size alone, I don't know if he can play X, but if he could, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Either way, it's kind of interesting because Troy Franklin can't play slot, which is weird. He plays vertical boundary, or he plays opposite boundary from Cortland Sutton, that's a weird position. But either way, everything looks pretty solid right now. Like, I think position by position, it makes sense. Like, I could definitely see us going first round wide out, second round tight end, third round guard, fourth round linebacker. I imagine us trying to get safety depth as well. And it wouldn't surprise me, because we love our Longhorns, with Roach getting extended, with Jade Barron here, with, there's a couple other guys who went to Texas on our roster that I'm just blanking on right now, even though that's crazy. But yeah, either way. So yeah. But yeah, everything looks pretty good. Like, I think rebuilding and adding 2 linebackers to your room, because you apparently can't depend on Drew Sanders for anything. The only thing I will say, I don't think we need. Oh, that's sick. My question is, who's the fattest defensive tackle in the draft? I know Andy had that answer not too long ago. But yeah, for now, this looks position by position. I'm going to be honest, I don't know anything about these guys. I don't know their profiles other than KC. But either way, I'm going to do a mock draft here when more people join the stream. I'm surprised there's not more people in here for Blackout Wednesday, but also I am not doing the vertical streams anymore. The reason I'm not doing them is because I don't want those unhinged comments that plugging the replay for those who choose to watch on the replay. So, what are we doing here? Stop screen, and then I'm going to go back to PFF. But yeah, David, to answer your question, so I like your mock draft, like position by position. Like, I definitely think it makes sense. But once again, I don't know anything about those guys' profiles. All right. So, I already made a couple videos talking about Malcolm Roach today. And if you're watching me make another video about him, I'm sorry, because I talked about him ad nauseum today. I did a live stream, and then I did another live stream talking about, how the Broncos made a great move, akin to Sports Talk Denver, wink, wink. Let's see. So throughout this year, once again, I feel like he's pretty disruptive. He's a pretty disruptive guy that just never shows up on the stat sheet. The reason he doesn't show up on the stat sheet is because he does a lot of the dirty work on rundowns. Malcolm Roach is a very, very smart football player. So many times I see him look like he's completely washed out of the play. I think that he's like almost washed out, almost damn near by the right tackle, being blocked by the center. And then he cuts all the way to the left to go back to the runner who's, running behind the left tackle. And that's crazy. That just shows the athleticism of these NFL athletes. But yeah, I am so happy that Malcolm Roach is here. The one reservation, the one concern I have about this deal is I think it means that John Franklin Myers is not on this team next year. The reason I think it means John Franklin Myers is not on this team next year is because we're just simply not in a position to extend John Franklin Myers unless it was a very short-term contract, which I'm sorry, but a bottom-feeding team like the Saints, like the Cardinals, like the, God knows who, Titans, is going to throw a bag at John Franklin Myers in free agency, and it's just going to be something we can't match, okay? There's rarely ever quality defensive linemen of his caliber available in the free agency pool, and the fact that, he does have, what's it called? Those sorts of things, or the fact that he does have that sort of availability this upcoming free agent cycle, that lets me know that John Franklin Myers is probably going to get poached by a bad team. Once again, there are teams that are going to have to pay the Jaguars tax, which is where you have to overpay free agents to come to your organization. Now, it worked out for the Patriots, okay? They spent a bag on Carlton Davis. They spent a bag on Milton Williams. They spent a bag on Stephon Diggs, and all those guys have contributed in huge ways for them this upcoming year. So it's not to say that the team first-year turnaround is completely improbable or implausible throughout free agency. That being said, the teams that do well in the NFL, they're traditionally the teams that draft the best, okay? Think about the Jaguars. They spent like $1 billion in free agency over a decade. And once again, there's a reason the phrase Jaguars tax is a thing, okay? Now, I'm looking at Spotrac and I'm looking at 2026 NFL free agents. To be honest, there's just nobody that interests me up here. Mike Evans, no. Christian Kirk, no. Deebo Samuel, definitely not. Braden Smith, I mean, we already have a right tackle, but, how funny would it be? How funny would it be if we signed Kelsey to a 1-year contract? How funny would that be? I mean, I think that'd be comedy gold if we were to sign Kelsey to a 1-year contract before he decides to retire. But I'm not going to look at quarterbacks because we already have our backup and our starter. Okay, so free agency when it comes to running backs is generally pretty slim pickings. Like if you're going hunting on the market for running backs, you're generally going to be pretty disappointed. Okay. Here are a couple of guys that interest me though. Okay. Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall is definitely a guy who you should target if you are the Denver Broncos. Travis Kelce would be a dream. See, the thing is, I don't know what he adds to your offense at like 36, 37 years old anymore. I think the Chiefs targeting him as much as they have this past year indicates more of an indictment on the Chiefs offense rather than Kelce still having his ability. Because like even throughout our game, it was the least intimidating 9 for 91 I have ever seen in my life. But yeah, I mean, he'd definitely be an upgrade over what we have right now. But so here are the names that I'm circling, highlighting, starring, squaring in free agency. ETN, I feel like he'd be cheaper than a lot of these other guys. That being said, Breece Hall is my number one. Okay. I like Kenneth Walker, but I don't love him. Okay. I think, we talk about Harvey not being that good of a pure runner. And the thing about Walker is that he's either a home run threat or he's stuffed. And that's just, there's a reason the Seahawks drafted Charbonnet in the early second round in 2023, a year after they took Walker at very similar capital. All right. Jerome Ford, honestly, if we're looking to upgrade the Jaleel role, then I'd be fine with Jerome Ford. But once again, anytime he's gotten the chance to be the bell cow in Cleveland, he completely blows up. I love Kenneth Walker or ETN. Yeah, for real. What about Breece Hall? I think Breece Hall, he definitely cost the most, but I think he would add so much to this offense. Rachaad White, if you're looking for like a really, really productive third down back, I would really, really like us to go out and get Rachaad White. Now, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen, but he's shown with the Bucky injury this year, the injury to Bucky Irving, that he still got it and that he's still a very reliable guy. I know he came into the draft as an older rookie from ASU, but yeah, B-Rob, not somebody I'm really interested in. There are a lot of dart throws I liked. Like when these guys were all rookies, I liked Keontae Ingram. I like, what's it called? Wish I could see the sheets more expansion. What are you talking about? Are you talking about my sheets? Here you go. Wait. I'm trying to bring them to the frame. I can't. My cat's laying on them. Yeah, I don't know what that means too. David also wants shoddy white. Okay, but regardless, Tyler Algier would be a lot of fun. He started as a Walmart cashier at BYU, walked on, got 1,000 yards his rookie year. Team decides to draft Bijan anyway. They were really stupid for doing so. Evan Hull, another one who I liked him when he was coming out, but it's been kind of in the NFL. I don't know. Amari DiMercado, I don't want you to fumble the games away. Jaleel McLaughlin, this one's interesting. I think you give him the RFA deal, or I don't think you tender him as an RFA. I think you probably just let another team offer him a deal, and if you really want him to come back, you just match him. Tyler Bidet, I think I've seen enough. I'm just being so for real. Like, the fact that Jaleel McLaughlin is, a positive for me after the Chiefs game really says a lot about Tyler Bidet. Now, maybe you bring him back for like special teams. Maybe you bring him back just exclusively just to get like mop up duty or whatever. But yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling about that. Overall, not a whole lot of really exciting things here as far as free agency. Like maybe you bring a couple of those guys in to like compete. But Brees Hall, Kenneth Walker, those guys would be sick for a second at backs. Now, let's talk about this because we are going to add a receiver this offseason. And it's not guaranteed to be in the draft, but you can guarantee that at some point this offseason, we are going to add a wide receiver. Now, the reason I say that is because throughout the past 3 drafts, we've drafted Marvin Mims, we've drafted Troy Franklin, we've drafted Pat Bryant, all in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. And yeah, it's probably going to be 4 straight years that we draft a wideout because, let's be honest, there are just some guys I'm not interested in here. Okay. Lazard, bad. Dyami Brown. I loved Dyami Brown as a prospect in 2021. But it turns out he was just a Sam Howell merchant. All right. Mike Evans is like 8,000 years old, and it looks like his body's finally caught up to him. He's not going to get 1,000 yards this year, which sucks. Adam Thielen, man, I don't want to be like the retirement home wide receivers. That's the only thing. Hollywood Brown is literally nothing other than just fast. Let's see. Juwan Jennings. That might be one that I could see Sean Payton absolutely falling in love with. So it's basically an upgraded Trent Sherfield signing, and I'm not expecting him to get cut midway through his first season with us. Okay, Rashid Shaheed. I got a need for Shaheed. I love Shaheed. The thing I like about Shaheed is he's like Marvin Mims, but he can play real wide receiver. And let's see what else we got here. Josh Reynolds, I mean, do you want to bring him back? I doubt it. Jamal Agnew, I mean, maybe if you decide to look for some help and decide that your special teams needs upgrading in the return department, maybe. Let's see. Wan'Dale Robinson, that one's interesting. I think the Giants extend him. I don't know why you wouldn't. Now the dart pick is finally starting to come to fruition. Yeah, it is interesting that Shaheed didn't sign an extension, but I imagine you give up a 4th and a 5th for him. I imagine you're going to get something done pretty quick. Let's see who else. George Pickens. I don't know why they have, what's it called? I don't know why they only have this is his previous average annual value. So we're just not in a position to go for George Pickens, even though that's something that I would love. And yeah, if you want to see the real guys that are like actually good, you have to sort by market value and AAV. So these are the real guys that are actually good. And unfortunately, there's just not too many of these guys available in free agency. Romeo Dobbs, I imagine he gets re-signed by Green Bay. Alec Pierce. This one's interesting because I feel like Pierce has had a minimal impact on the stat sheet. But if you actually watch the games, he really shows up. So that's interesting. I don't know how the production works there, but I know that he was the 2nd-round pick from Cincinnati in 2022. I remember I made a YouTube video called Desmond Ridder is Bad back in 2022, January. And I was like, yeah, Alec Pierce is literally just saving this guy's draft stock and reputation. Also, the Avalanche are a wagon. I can't believe how good they're playing this year. So if you're looking for tight end, here's the guys that will actually be needle movers. So I'm trying to think. So we have David Njoku available as a free agent this upcoming year. I think he's kind of expendable. Like, I can't imagine Cleveland re-signs him with how well Fannin has played this year. So then we go to the AAV. So you got to think that of our realistic tight end targets, Njoku's got to be on here too, because we need a real inline guy. Okay. Cade Otton, that's someone I'm interested in. It'd be cool. Like, I don't know, 12 per sounds pretty fair for Cade Otton. Trying to think. Kyle Pitts, I don't want Pitts mainly because I don't want to be let down. I've had Kyle Pitts enough in fantasy, and he's let me down quite a bit. Isaiah Likely, apparently him and Baltimore are not close at all. Same with Linderbaum. They're in Baltimore, so that's interesting. That's really interesting. Keep your eye on Isaiah Likely. If you guys remember, went absolutely nuclear in the 2024 kickoff game against the Chiefs, was a toe tap away from flat out taking KC to overtime. That being said, what else happened? Oh, yeah. He got hurt early in this year, and he did not come. He honestly hasn't come back. I have not heard his name once this year. Okay. Also, Ayuk is somebody that I'd be very interested in as well, but we'll see. If you're looking for basically the guys that we're probably going to sign to our tight end room, it's probably going to be somewhere in this range. Chris Manhurst, Stone Smart, Jelani Woods, Andrew Beck, Jeremy Ruckert. So expect this, want this. Oh, damn, David. I didn't know you liked Coastal Carolina like that when Isaiah Likely was coming out. There was somebody in the 2022 draft I really liked at tight end, but I forget who it was. I think it was Jelani Woods, actually, because he was from Virginia and had a 10 relative athletic score. If you're looking for the guys who are probably going to sign, probably guys like Tegan Catoriano, Shane Zylstra, Charlie Kohler, Chigo Okonkwo. Actually, I would really like Chigoziem Okonkwo. He probably wouldn't break the bank like the other guys, so that's interesting. Tyler Conklin, that's another guy that I would really like to bring in. I thought his tape was great last year, and he's just gotten gadsdened. Noah Fant, I don't know why we didn't bring him in to upgrade the Kroll position on our team. That's another thing. I'm fine with Lucas Kroll just moving on. So, thank you, David, for all your comments, besides that one guy who commented about my sheets. So, Kyle Pitts. Let's talk about him. I understand Kyle Pitts is a freak athlete. I understand that he had a bulletproof prospect profile, but the generational tight end prospect busted. And Sean Payton, you already know that Sean Payton is going to have it out for, what's his name? Sean Payton is going to have it out for Kyle Pitts if we actually do end up getting our hands on him. So, yeah, the only thing I will say about tight end is hope for these guys. Expect these guys. That's all I'm saying. Let's look at offensive line because I genuinely think we could be in a position to go for O-line. All right. Admittedly, I don't know much about trench play across the NFL. That being said, I don't know why you'd want a guard from Houston. Houston is literally the worst offensive line in the NFL this year. Let's see who else. Will Hernandez. That's a guy who from UTSA I thought was really interesting as a prospect. I don't really know how he's done throughout his NFL career. I think he was kind of like Dalton Risner before Dalton Risner. Either way, if you're looking for actual game-changing offensive linemen, like Ben Powers might move on. So what are you going to do? Joel Bitonio. That's very interesting. A lot of people wanted us to trade for him. After Ben Powers went down. Jonah Williams has just not been that good throughout his career. Like, he played really bad in his contract year with Cincinnati. Now, David Edwards, this one's interesting to me because I honestly don't know how good he actually is. I don't, but if he's projected 20 a year, he's got to be pretty damn good, especially as an interior offensive lineman, right? I know that free agency can raise those types of deals or whatever, but yeah. I'm trying to think. Previous AAB. Yeah, okay, so there's a bunch of these guys. Alex Palczewski's a restricted free agent. We better lock that up. Evan Neal and Zion Johnson, Trevor Penning, they all interest me because they were all taken really early in the 2022 draft. I think Johnson was a first rounder. Evan Neal was 7th overall. Penning was drafted by New Orleans. So Penning's definitely going to have his intel, or Sean Payton's definitely going to have his intel from Penning. But yeah, Daniel Faalele. That's another guy who I think is a little interesting. Cole Strange, complete misfit over there in Miami after the entire football world said that they reached on him. I don't know. If we decide to go, I would prefer us to draft and develop these offensive linemen rather than, because offensive linemen in free agency are expensive. That's just the reality of the situation. Likely ran a slow 40, and I was like, it doesn't matter. He's fast on tape. Well done. I think the biggest prospect I've ever been a truther of is De'Ami Brown, and honestly, it took so long for him to literally contribute in the NFL that it's not even a process one on my part. Okay, Trey Pipkins, yeah, I think he's been not that good ever since Alton Slater went down. DJ Humphries, you see this. Offensive linemen are really expensive. That's just the way I feel about it. I'm not sure it'd be worth it. Market value for... All right, all defenders. No, I was looking at edge. Okay, we don't need edge. What am I on? All right. Devin Lloyd hits free agency. He's got to be priority number one. I don't imagine he hits free agency. I think Jacksonville has to get something worked out with Devin Lloyd because he's ascended into one of the game's very best inside linebackers as of late. And yeah. Oh, let's go. Just got a slew of comments. Me sitting here hoping we draft the Polynesian lineman. Yeah, dude, for real. The Polynesian linemen always go crazy. You already know. I wanted them to draft Jonas Savainea last year from Arizona, but unfortunately, he got taken in the second round by Miami, and he's probably been the worst offensive lineman in the league this year. Yo, what's up, bro? Offensive line, you are always overpaying like crazy. Yeah, I mean, you think about it, like even our first year, I will say, Begleci worth the deal. Ben Powers probably not, but once again, you don't invest in the offensive line. You don't invest in the players in general. You invest in the unit, I think. And yeah, what I mean by that is if you have 3 highly paid offensive linemen, it does not make sense to cheap out on the other 2. It just doesn't. If you're drafting, like, I don't know, if you're starting a bunch of young players on the offensive line, it doesn't make sense, really, to sign that many old ones. Actually, I don't know. It depends on the caliber of the ones. But yeah, Devin Lloyd, if he hits free agency, he's got to be a priority. He's got to be a priority for Denver. Happy that my regulars are starting to show up. Happy that my regulars are starting to flock in to this. But as far as linebacker, like if you're looking at free agency, I think you're going to have to do well with the budget pickups like we did with Alex Surtain back in 2022. But yeah, there's nobody who like really interests me. Quay Walker, I think he's a captain. And the only thing I've heard him doing in the NFL thus far is when Detroit was playing when Detroit was playing Green Bay and Green Bay had their playoff hopes still alive back in 2022, week 18. I remember Quay Walker lost the game for him because he shoved the assistant trainer on Detroit and got a 15-yard penalty in the game's most crucial moment. Either way, there will be linebackers cut, but at the end of the day, I think linebacker is definitely one of those, all right, you just sit back and you draft sort of guys. Whether you guys like it or not, we're bringing in another corner next year. So let's just sort by the AAB and let's just see. I could definitely see Tariq Woolen getting brought in by this front office. I could see KC might rely on Noel Williams to be their cornerback too next year. So I don't know if they re-sign Jalen Watson. That'd be interesting. That's an interesting discussion. How the fuck is Tre'Davious White still in the NFL? Oh my god, my mouse died again. I gotta plug this in. Is J.K. Dobbins actually going to return this year, or is Sean blowing smoke? My guess is if you see him, we're gonna have to go on a really deep run. Because I looked up the timeline for a Liz Frank injury and like surgically repairing it, and it's 3 to 6 months. Now, granted, I get it. NFL athletes, they're freak guys. They have access to the world's best medical care. They spend basically all day, every day rehabbing. So when they do get hurt, but at the end of the day, I think you really got to temper your expectations for J.K. Dobbins to return this year. Rowan says Nakobe Dean. That's the thing. I think he does get re-signed by Philly, but I don't know. Zach Bond and also Jihad Campbell, like maybe he's expendable. Maybe he's just flat out expendable. Yeah, he was the green dot for the Eagles before he got injured, but I don't know. That's interesting there. Okay, finally my mouse is working again. Okay, either way, here's some free agents. Once again, I feel like we're more likely to draft a corner, and then I think this is where we target somebody in free agency if we're looking at that. I think we might try to upgrade our third safety spot. Nothing wrong with PJ Locke. Like, he'll give you admirable play. The problem is PJ Locke was genuinely the worst center or the worst player on our team last year. Outside of the center, outside of the inside linebackers, like PJ Locke, genuinely, the reason our defense is elite this year is because PJ Locke is not starting this year. Like, genuinely. We returned 9 out of 11 starters on the defensive side of the ball. And the only ones that did not come back were Cody Barton and PJ Locke. And I feel like that's an indictment on both those guys. that our defense looks as crazy as it does with 9 out of the same 11 starters. Ashton Davis is another one that I really liked in the draft process. Don't know how he's been. Brisker got off to a really good start in Chicago, and I think he's going to be really expensive. Wait, let me check the AAV for these guys. Okay, Brian Cook. I know he's very reliable for Kansas City. I don't think he's like actually that good to where he's getting like $14 million a year. Like, he is a solid to good player, but I don't think he gets this on the open market. I really don't. Alohi Gilman's also really bad. Do you guys want to bring back DTY? Also, isn't the league minimum like $750K? Like, DeLarian Turner-Yell is not so trash that we only have to pay him $315,000. That sounds like an NFLPA crisis right there. All right, let's get real interesting here. Ooh, Casey Kreider. I remember he made a couple Pro Bowls with us. Jacob Bobenmoyer. I know that he was in our facility and he ultimately got, what's it called? He ultimately got sent to the Raiders, and he got a couple Pro Bowls too. So we made a huge mistake by letting Jacob Bobenmoyer go, in my opinion. I'm not going to talk about kicker, not going to talk about punter because we already have that figured out. But yeah, either way. Okay, let's time for me to go through these comments. All right. I feel like Sean saying JK can come back is all smoke. He's playing off the fact that we couldn't get a running back. Yeah, you're probably right. Like, it's probably just copium. It's probably just an answer to the press about, why didn't you guys add a running back? And I think Sean Payton is just saying, like, look, we didn't need to. George Payton, he's always going to be like, oh, we were in strong. We like what we have. I don't like when they say stuff like that. But, yes, Sean's saying JK can go back. Like, not to say it's impossible, but I'd be very, very surprised. And I'd also be surprised if he was the same player when he came back. I just don't see that happening. I don't see him being the same player until, at some point this offseason. But, yeah. Green dot for the Eagles before he was injured. You're talking about Nakobe Dean. That might be interesting too. But once again, I don't think inside linebacker needs another substantial investment. I think you can draft a guy in the fourth or like third, and you could be fine. He could compete for his starting role next year. Hopefully they'd win. Do you extend Stidham or draft a backup QB? Stidham signed a 2-year extension this past year, so I think that's more of a question for the 2027 offseason. But yeah, no, I'm fine with Stidham. I don't like wasting draft capital on, especially mid-round draft capital on quarterbacks. I really don't. People saying we will run the ball against the Commanders due to the rain are dead wrong because Sean will make both throw the ball 40 times in the rain. Yeah, you're right. Reminds me of the Jets game last year when everything was like, we ran like 18 trillion screens. And yeah. This episode of Denver Broncos Tonight on November 26th, 11:10 p.m. Mountain Time is brought to you by Burt's Bees. It's brought to you by Burt's Bees. Now, they don't sponsor me, but I wish they would. Oh, yeah. PJ Locke was a liability. Yes, I 100% agree. If you guys have never seen my film review where I absolutely dunked on PJ Locke, the day we signed Talanoa Hufanga, I was like, we just upgraded the worst starting spot on our defense with an all-pro. Go ahead and check that out. It's literally called Talanoa Hufanga, just replaced the worst starter on the Broncos defense. Yeah, I like Locke as a third safety, but, he unfortunately was a key liability in our biggest games last year. PJ was the hit stick machine last season. Like, I like his energy. I like what he brings. He plays special teams, so good for him for cutting his teeth in the NFL, but he's not a starting safety. He had the chance last year, and he completely blew it. Do you think Franklin will keep getting more targets than Sutton? No, I don't. If it keeps going in the way of just being too inconsistent, I don't think so. Now, I think the thing is, the question for me is, do you think Franklin will keep getting more targets than Pat Bryant? I think as soon as you see all of Franklin's targets funneled through Pat Bryant, you're going to have a lot more success on the offensive side of the ball. Franklin is so boomer bust right now that I literally just can't take the downside. I literally just can't. Like, Franklin's still a useful player, but at the end of the day, he's still a developing 22-year-old fourth-round pick that you're relying upon to be your wide receiver too. And for a championship-level team or a team with Super Bowl aspirations, he just is not what we need at this point. I was surprised that Bidet didn't play much last game. I wasn't. I was surprised that Jaleel played as much as he did, but I'm not surprised that Bidet didn't play that much. I mean, Bidet hasn't been good in a while. Like, he's been bad for a long time. But yeah, so that is really interesting. When I get my clothing brand up and running again, I'm going to sponsor you guys. Hell yeah, man. Honestly, I would do it for free. I'd put like a T-Fish's clothing, whatever, in my background. Seems like ownership had the right to Roach the bye week. Ha ha! Well done, Don Smith, G6K. Well done. The right to Roach. I love that. If the Chiefs lose to the Cowboys Thursday, are they out of the playoffs in your opinion? No, but I'm telling you one thing. I brought this up. I brought this up in the past 3 shows. They're not out if they lose to the Cowboys per se, albeit that would really, really hurt their chances. But here's the game that I think we all need to keep our eyes on. If the Chiefs lose this game, they are in big trouble. If the Chiefs lose against the Texans, they're in big, big trouble. Because then Jacksonville would have the tiebreaker over them. Then, depends on how the Chargers would finish the year. But Buffalo would have the tiebreaker over them. Buffalo's not winning the AFC East, I don't think. I think it's still going to be New England. But yeah, if the Jaguars, Texans, and Bills all have the tiebreaker over you and the Ravens win the division and the Steelers go split at worst case scenario with Baltimore, the Chiefs are absolutely boned. Like, they're almost cooked. Is CJ Stroud back? We keep getting updates about whether or not he's going to play. I think he's still in concussion protocol, which is unfortunate that Aiden Strain was the guy who led him there. But once again, clean hit, late slide. So, oh well. I picked the Cowboys to win. Oh, yeah. Also, the Steelers are not the 4th seed anymore. Yeah, no, they're not. Because I think Baltimore's leading the division now. Because Pittsburgh lost to someone. Pittsburgh lost to Chicago. But yeah, they're not out of the playoffs if they lose to the Cowboys, to answer your question. But it would be really, like, they can't afford to drop any more games. They really can't. And once again, I think Houston has a chance to really put a dagger in them. Steelers don't scare me at all. See, you say this, and then they're gonna play us in like a 13-10 game on Wild Card weekend, and then it's just gonna suck. Like, I would love to be the team that retires Aaron Rodgers. I really would, but I don't know, man. Too much up in the air right now. Who do you think should cover Deebo Samuel Sunday night? Deebo Samuel's like not a real wide receiver, so I'm trying to think, because if you're the Broncos and you practice against Marvin Mims, I'm trying to think, what do you do? What do you do to contain him? I imagine it's going to be, Wait, let me check. Did Terry McLaurin practice today? I don't think he did. Did he? Probably would have hurt if he did. Oh, yep. He's going to play Sunday night against Denver. So Terry McLaurin is about to make his way. Terry McLaurin's about to be covered by Patrick Surtain. So basically that takes PS2, because PS2 is going to play, I would imagine. So Scary Terry against Patrick Surtain. That's your matchup there. And then I'm trying to think. Zach Ertz, he doesn't really scare me, so I don't really know what you do about that. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Austin Eckler. Trying to think who else they have at the running back. Like, I think the running back room has been absolutely laughable the past few weeks, hasn't it been? I don't know why they treated B-Rob when their group is as lackluster as it is, but yeah, good for Terry McLaurin. Like, as much as it would help us for him to sit this game out, listen, I honestly wish Jaden Daniels was playing, because I want every team at their best going into January. Once again, not upset that he's not playing, but once again, of course, the game Terry returns, he's facing PS2, and he has Mariota throwing him the ball, against the Broncos pass rush. You double Deebo and put Barron on Ertz. That's actually not a bad idea. The only thing is, I don't think Deebo can really hurt you as a real wide receiver. I think the way to contain Deebo is you got to be really disciplined with your flats. You got to be really disciplined with your contain, because Deebo, he does not have it as a receiver anymore. But I'll tell you what he does have it as. He does definitely have it as a yak guy still. Like, I'm pretty sure at one point this year, granted, it was really early on. I think it was like through week 5. Debo was still leading the NFL in yak. Zach Ertz is averaging 35 yards a game. I know it's not like that crazy, but he's definitely still a guy that can chain move. He's definitely still a guy that can chain move. And I know that he's had like 18 trillion ACL surgeries, so he's not the player that he once was. And he doesn't break tackles either. That's the other thing, is that there's that Twitter account called Did Zach Ertz break a tackle? And they've tweeted no every day for like the past 7 years. So that's the thing with like this matchup. So obviously you have McLaurin against PS2. And don't underestimate Scary Terry, man. Like, Scary Terry is a monster. Like, probably a top 10 wide receiver talent in the NFL. Yeah. No one on the Commanders' offense scares me besides Terry. You are completely correct. Maybe Laramie Tunsil, but the Commanders' offensive line is still bad, Their run game has been a joke, like I said, ever since they lost Eckler for the year, which I don't know how you lose Eckler, who's like 37 years old, at running back and somehow get worse. But, oh, well, here we are. But, yeah, talking about Washington, there's just not a whole lot that I think they're doing right in this year. And I don't know, man. Like, the weather's going to be bad, so that doesn't help Terry McLaurin either, I don't think. But, yeah, I genuinely think since McLaurin has had, like, that quad injury, I think this game is going to be really bad for the Commanders' offense. Now, granted, they did have a bye this past week, but we'll see. We'll see. And also, don't underestimate, like, I know he said he will play against the Broncos. But I don't know, man. He keeps injuring his quad in just practice, I think. So if he holds steady the next 2 days, then good for him. But Terry McLaurin is absolutely a guy you have to respect. Luckily, you have a weapon to deal with it who's coming back this week named Patrick Surtain. And then I'm trying to think. You get Noah Brown versus Riley Moss. Who else do you get? Actually, I have an idea. Who do I think should cover Debo Sunday night? So, T. Fisher's made this interesting. You double Debo and put Barron on Ertz. Yes, you put Barron on Ertz, but I cover him with Chris Ames-Drain. The reason I cover him with Chris Ames-Drain is because I feel like Chris Ames-Drain has the best lateral agility to cover Debo and potentially rally to the football. Or, no. Wait, Jaquan. Okay. Jaquan, because he plays ferocious, and he'll be able to, like, deal with that stuff in the flats. He's a really disciplined defender who could also cover if Debo does go downfield for a route. So there's my answer, Jaquan. I thought about Ames-Drain, but yeah. Last time I checked, I think Matt Gay was on the Rams, but hold on. He was either on the Rams or 49ers. No, he is on the 49ers. Thank you for asking me that. Washington's defense is competing with the Bengals bad this year. Yeah, that's unfortunate because the weather is such a big equalizer. But, yeah, no, Washington's defense is definitely a get-right game. And I expect us, after the bye, I expect us to come out flying regardless of the circumstances. But, yeah, hold on. Let me pull up the Commanders' depth chart. Wait, before I do that, let me pull up their injury report. Okay. Zach Ertz, veteran rest. Von Miller, on rest. Jane Daniels, limited. That's interesting. They said he's probably not going to be available, but that's interesting. Treylon Burks. It'd be interesting to see if he actually made it on the field for this week. Ben Sinnott doesn't even exist. Like, I don't know why you take him in the second round if you've gotten literally nothing out of him. Here we go. Unofficial depth chart. All right. So I remember watching Josh Connerly this year against Nick Benito. Hold on. I remember watching Josh Connerly this year against Nick Benito, Micah Parsons, and he was getting absolutely abused. So I don't see why Nick Benito can't work his magic against him too. Jalen Lane, Tar Heel legend. That's a little interesting. But, yeah, Bill Krosky, Merritt, Jeremy Nichols. Jeremy Nichols is a guy who can really do some interesting things because it seems like Seattle or Washington always has this, like, J.D. McKissick type where he can't do much in the air, but he's always going to catch, like, 6 for 50 and just keep the chains moving. I'm trying to think. Daron Payne is definitely somebody we got to respect. Javon Kinlaw. I don't know how he's been. Jacob Martin, our old boy. I don't know. This looks like the retirement home of the NFL. San Ristel, I think he's their kick returner now. Noah Igbenogany. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. This secondary is really sorry. Like, we should be able to move the ball. How the hell did this team make the NFC Championship last year? Last time we played the Commanders, we lost 35-33. Sam Howell. It's crazy because I actually really like Sam Howell as a prospect. And throughout that game, I was just like, man, this is the guy I saw in North Carolina. And then throughout the year, he was just not the answer. He just proved to like not really be the answer for the Commanders. But yeah, you are completely correct. But yeah, I'm looking at this depth chart. I'm like, how did this team make the NFC Championship? Wait, Robbie Chosen? Or Chosen Anderson or whatever his name is. Chosen Anderson is on the Commanders now? What? Oh my God. I didn't even know that. Yeah, I remember he had a couple incredible years with the Jets. Yeah. Okay, well, either way, Tyler Biadasz, Chris Paul, Sam Cosmi, like Zach Allen and Malcolm Roach and JFM, they should be able to step up. I'm interested to see how Cooper does against Tunsil. Then we got, yeah. That's interesting. Made the championship game by shit schedule and little to no tape on Jane Daniels, with Daniels raising the ships for the whole team. Yep, you are correct. You are absolutely correct. And the craziest thing is they went into Detroit. Detroit was probably last year, in my opinion, was probably the best team of the past 20 years to not win the Super Bowl since New England in 2007. Actually, I don't know. 2023 Baltimore was pretty fucking good. But yeah, no, they went into Detroit, and I know Detroit dealt with a lot of injuries, and Aaron Glenn had one foot out the door, but still. Commanders going from NFC Championship to top 5 pick the next year is crazy work. It really is. It really is. Like, the Commanders going from the NFC Championship game to being in the top 5 is insane. But that's kind of what happens in the NFL. I think it's swung too far in the other direction. Like, I don't think the Commanders are actually that bad, but I don't think Dan Quinn is that good of a coach either, but we'll see. We shall see. Lovely Wednesday night edition of Denver Broncos Tonight, November 26th, 20:25 p.m. I'm a little bit worried about that crappy FedEx Field grass and bad weather conditions causing us injuries. Yeah, I mean, you're not invalid because what happened at FedEx Field? Jalen Hurts almost died. Joe Burrow, ACL, his rookie year. What else happened? The thing I will say is that it's kind of like playing at – it's not as bad at playing at MetLife Stadium, but you definitely got to keep your head on a swivel. Raiders beating the Chargers will be hilarious. I actually would really hate for this to happen. Actually, would I? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, I just don't want them feeling good heading into our matchup. Like, I wish we had them this week because they got to be reeling after getting dunked on by Shadusi. Burp. It's also Dan Quinn with that offensive coordinator that had a good year. Then the NFL figures them out. That wasn't 28-3 on Quinn. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Kingsbury's units tend to start fast and then just not adjust at all. It was a problem going back to his time in Arizona. And when I was making my video about Vance Joseph, one of the things that really stuck out to me was whenever Whenever the Cardinals started hot, usually it was their offense letting them down at the end of the season, not the defense. So, yeah, that's interesting. But either way. Again, I just don't want the Raiders to get any momentum. If the Broncos made the Super Bowl, would you consider making a trip to California? If I had the money to do so, which, I mean, it's just completely unrealistic for me at this point in my life. Now, maybe when I'm older and I have racks and whatever, but would I consider making a trip to California? I mean, I like California. My cousin lives in LA. My cousin Brad lives in LA. even though I know the game's in San Francisco or whatever, but no, I wouldn't. Now, if it was all expenses paid for, that would be insane. But I wouldn't do that. That's the only circumstance where I'd be able to go. Actually, if it was like something where, I had the ticket, but I would cover the flight, then that'd be fine too. But either way, the Cardinals under Kingsbury would be good. The Cardinals under Kingsbury would be good, and then the next caught out, and then Murray loses interest. Yeah, that was crazy. Like, I remember in 2021, they started like 8-1 or whatever, then the COD came out. Also, I remember a lot of people dunking on Arizona saying, well, the homework clause in his contract isn't that big of a deal. I mean, we're seeing right now he's getting outplayed by Jacoby Brissett. I'm going to answer this one real quick, Rowan. I'm going to answer this one, Crumble Cookies, then I'll get to you, Rowan. What do you think of J.J. McCarthy? Is he just not that good of a quarterback, or does he have the potential to be a franchise guy? First of all, did not like McCarthy as a prospect. That being said, it's more about how guys develop. It's more about where they're drafted to rather than their profiles. So, I mean, it's been rough so far, no denying. I think ultimately he'll be fine. I think people are just overreacting. And the Vikings offensive line, they've dealt with some injuries. Kevin O'Connell, he always has strong offensive ecosystems. You know that he can revive all these quarterbacks' careers. So if he can revive all these quarterbacks' careers, I can't see why he can't do that with the young quarterback that he took 10th overall in 2024. Granted, I didn't think McCarthy had like any real physical traits that would lead him to NFL success, but yeah. But I think people are panicking a little. Like, I don't think the offense in Minnesota is doing that much to help them out. I feel like it's a lot of the conversation we've had about Knicks this year. Like, at a certain point, you just got to make a play and help your guy. Maybe let's block a guy. Maybe let's block a guy and not leave a guy unblocked and help out our young quarterback. And help out our young quarterback. Maybe let's make the tough catch and help out our young quarterback. And I get it when he's sailing balls, but oh well. Jefferson, Addison, it's a huge indictment on McCarthy so far that he can't get the ball to Jefferson or Addison, because that's a top 5 wide receiver 2 tandem, wide receiver 1 tandem in the sport, but oh well. Have you seen that Buda Baker video of him breaking down the locker room yelling at his teammates, "I'm tired of losing"? I have not. But let me see if I can find this anywhere. This sounds interesting to show on stream. Oh, shoot. Or no, this was a press conference, but no, I'm trying to find. This is only available on TikTok, and I don't want to open TikTok stream because I don't want you guys to see my weird ass comments. I can't find it. Oh well, not that big of a deal. JJ's arm is what people thought Bo's arm would be. Yeah, like Bo has had the 2 longest air yards throws in the NFL since 2018. And while you can talk whatever you want about like his tight window accuracy, his deep ball actual raw power is crazy. Dude, it's TikTok. We are horrible people on that site. No worries. Well, yeah, but I just don't want you guys to see what people are saying on my videos. Like, hold on. What are people saying on my videos? Here we go. I post the same shorts I post on YouTube to TikTok. Somebody said, I love him, but he's not that good, talking about Roach. All right, yeah, it's whatever. Either way, I wasn't able to find that video of Buda Baker, but that's crazy. JJ was carried by the team around him. He comes out rich. Then he comes around, as an alter ego that he looks like he's a psycho. Yeah. The reason I didn't agree with McCarthy being that good of a prospect is because he was asked to do literally nothing. Like, I'm just being so for real. He threw the ball in the national championship game, I'm pretty sure, like 12 times. And say whatever you want about Bo or Penix, but those guys produced in college football. Regardless of the circumstances, J.J. McCarthy never produced, which is the craziest thing. It's a beautiful time to be an NFL fan. Patriots over Bills, Denver over KC, Colts over Houston, kind of. Rams over Niners, Bears low-key good. Philly looks beatable. Yeah. You know what? This changing of the guard this year too. Yeah, once again, unfortunately the Patriots might be back and better than ever, which would be really scary to think about. But yeah, if all they had to do was suffer for 5 years, then get another MVP quarterback, that would be really unfortunate for the rest of us. What do you think of JJ's alter ego 9? I think it's really stupid. I think it's rightfully so getting dunked on by the NFL meme community. Like, I'm sorry, but there's just no way that you can do this and not be clowned on. Like, I see all those memes about him being like, about those people being like, oh, like what happened? Did you, who threw that interception? It wasn't me. It was 9. Bo went to that arm technician. Oh, yeah. What's his name? Something Savage? Or no, who the fuck is that guy's name? Tom House. Tom House. That's what it was. Yeah. So who you got? Team 3 with Russell Wilson or 9? Holy shit. Can the option be to go jump off a building instead? His deep ball does look different, but we're not hitting it. We're not hitting it like we were last year, which is crazy, which is like really sad. When Bo's deep ball is accurate, it gives me a boner. Gives me one too. Unfortunately, we haven't seen a very accurate deep ball this year from Bo Nix a lot. Yeah. Yeah, my cat's sleeping right next to me, y'all. My cat is sleeping right next to me. But yeah, what are y'all doing for Thanksgiving? I hope you guys have an amazing holiday tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to stream or not because I don't know what the traffic's going to be like on Thanksgiving. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Here you go. This is my boy Caesar. He was adopted in Las Vegas when I lived in Vegas, so. And I named him after Caesar's Palace, so yeah. Okay, buddy, you can go back to sleep. I just had to show him to the YouTube world. Dude, I don't understand why Bo Nix's mechanics have been so bad after like 50 college starts and like 30 starts in the NFL. I really don't. That's probably been the biggest surprise for me this year with the Denver Broncos. I know if you guys catch Horsepower Hour with my friends, David, Mark, and Jeremy, usually I'm on Horsepower Hour, but I keep getting scheduled Mondays now, and I can't get I got scheduled Mondays, so I either late join Horsepower Hour or I have to miss altogether. This upcoming Monday, I'm having surgery, so I won't be on Horsepower Hour either. I'm having surgery on my nose. But either way, yeah, that throwing guru that Bo Nix went to could have messed up his mechanics very well. So it's why his deep ball are off, and he looks off in general. Yeah, and like that's crazy to me. I just don't know how you fix something like that. Like, who do you go to fix something like that? Bose tries to do too much, I feel. I feel like he still has those Auburn traits where he throws away the mechanics and tries to make a play. See, the crazy thing is, I feel like he's both doing too much and not enough. Like, sometimes he'll, like, run himself at the first hint of pressure. He will literally throw the ball away, even if he has, like, guys open downfield. But I also feel like, yeah, sometimes he's doing too much. Sometimes he's trying to play hero ball, and unfortunately it leads to like, some wonky mechanics. Like, remember that first drive of the game we had against Dallas? That led to a pick. So, yeah, I get what you're saying, and I think that there is something to that. I watched every Oregon game, and he used to float his deep passes. Right now, it seems like he's strong-arming it. Oh, yeah, because you're from Oregon, right? Yeah. Or Washington. You're somewhere in the Northwest. He fishes, right? But right now, it seems like he's strong-arming it. Yeah. I hate when he runs up in the pocket when he throws deep. Dude, me too. That pisses me off so much. Hope Bo will go back to the QB coach he worked with for the draft. Yeah. Now, I'm glad he got like some arm whatever worked out. Some arm, I don't know how to put it. worked out. But yeah, I don't know, man. Bo needs to see the coach that fixed Josh Allen's footwork. Yeah, these guys see a lot of coaches, though. I don't know if that's like the ultimate answer, but he's got to do something. Because honestly, I don't think there was a whole lot of like validity to why he regressed this year. I don't think there were a whole lot of excuses, you know. The offense, in theory, is not worse. You know, the supporting cast did not get worse around him. The offensive line, you returned 5 out of the 5 same starters. I know you lost Powers, but Palczewski's still playing well enough to where it doesn't matter. And besides the Jets game, you had a horrible right left to guard performance with Parrott, and then he got hurt. But yeah, Bo is getting better at reading blitzes, and honestly, he is really, really lethal against the blitz. And I think that's because he's really good against man coverage. Now he needs to read zone coverage. And hold on, I'm going to see. Hold on. All right. I think Bo just needs to play some Madden, okay? Bo just needs to play some Madden, and here's why. Boom. Here you go. All right, y'all. This is literally the only chart you need to look at. With the NFL being so cover 3 heavy, here are the cover 3 beaters. Okay, boom. You got this right here, but also if they run cover 3 sky, what you can do, trust me, I know this from my time in college football. If they run cover 3 sky, you just run mesh and you just hit the drag route that's open. Trust me, I've played plenty of college football. I know how to read defenses. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no. Bo, I don't think yeah. Maybe getting used to his back in the way it feels after getting fixed. That might be true too, because he hasn't been running as much this year. And I'm disappointed. I know a lot of people don't want him to get hurt, but at the end of the day, like, you know, it's kind of like Lamar Jackson. It's like, he was like, my mom told me that I got to keep running because running is what made me me. Like, I feel that same way about Bo Nix. I'm from Compton, California. Oh, man. Oh, Jesus. I hope you can get out of Compton pretty soon. But I just like the Ducks, Eastern Washington, Penn State, I assume, and then Arizona. Yes, bear down, go Wildcats. I know we had a ton of Arizona fans on my stream last night. That's funny. A guy wearing an ASU cap came into my restaurant tonight, and I was like, if Arizona or if ASU wins, come back to me on Friday or Saturday night, or no, on Saturday night and talk mad shit. He struggled at diagnosing blitzes last year. Yeah, he did. It felt like anytime a team just dialed up an all-out blitz, he had no answers for it. Like the first game against the Chiefs, I don't know why the Chiefs didn't all-out blitz every play because we had no answer for it when it was the case. Yeah, for real. Like he needs to use his legs better. And for the people that say, well, you know, he might get hurt, I'm just like, dude, it's the NFL. Like guys get hurt, and you gotta stay true to your play style, especially as a quarterback. Because this is what made Bo Nix really lethal in October, November last year. Yes, 1,000%. I'm never going to cheer for the Cowboys harder than I'm never going to have cheered for the Cowboys harder in my life than I am tomorrow. That's what I'm trying to say. Bro. Jalen Watson against George Pickens. That better be cinema. Yeah, Bo is a really underrated runner with the football. Like, people really underestimated his speed and his arm strength as a prospect. And I feel like throughout the draft, it was a little unique that Bo Nix was basically the inverse of what everyone thought he was. It felt like the easy plays didn't come to us easy like last year, but it feels like the explosive plays did. And that's something I think he's done a good job of. Like, I think he's smart. I think he's doing a good job of protecting himself whenever he does run with the football. But, yeah, no. Don't let it slide like Stroud or dance on the sideline like Mahomes. Yeah, no. One is just being reckless. The other is just being a complete douchebag. And I got to say, I'd rather have the reckless one rather than the complete douchebag who's an embarrassment to the sport. Either way, November 26th, 11:42 p.m., Denver Broncos tonight on this lovely blackout Wednesday. Lovely Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. I hope you guys have an amazing Thanksgiving, y'all. I hope if you guys can have an amazing Thanksgiving, we can, I don't know, whether the Cowboys win or lose, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, I'm going to be going for the Cowboys, no doubt about it. And honestly, if the Cowboys are able to pull it off tomorrow and they can go into the Texans game not feeling great and the Texans get Stroud back, then yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. Like, if I'm a defensive coordinator and my team is getting blown out now, I think, there's a difference between sending a message and being reckless. Like, if I was the Eagles in the Super Bowl and Mahomes was doing that dancing stuff, I'd get 15 yards. I'd get 15 yards and maybe kicked out of the game because you win the Lombardi Trophy anyway. What bad does it do to miss week 1 or 2 next year? But yeah. Has Bo only had one fumble? I'm pretty sure it was from last year. I think he got strip sacked in week 1 this year when Jeffrey Simmons, but I think that strip sack was 1,000% Bo's fault. So no, he has 2 because he fumbled against the Titans this year. Sean's got everyone on a leash. He doesn't give Ingram choice routes on zone coverages. He is forcing RJ to run how Sean wants him to run. Yeah, like I get what you're saying, but I think there is a lot of conservative stuff with the offense right now, and I can't say they're wrong for doing it, but man, it's just annoying. It really is annoying. Once again, it's so annoying that I have to recharge my mouse right now. Well, this T Fish's comment will be highlighted for like a minute or 2, but he doesn't give Ingram choice routes on zone coverages, doesn't let Bo run, and is forcing RJ. See, the thing is, though, I don't know if he's like not telling Bo to run, or if he's telling Bo to not run. I don't know whose call that is. Like, it's easy for us as fans to assume, but I just genuinely don't know. I don't have an answer. But yeah, somebody said he likely doesn't fumble because he's not taking any sacks really. That's what Crumble Cookies just said. Yeah, you're probably right. Like, he is a very turnover-averse quarterback. The only problem I have with his style of play is often we miss out. Like, it feels a little too conservative, in my opinion. Like, Burrow will get sacked all day long. Now, he said that Burrow's gotten pretty unlucky throughout his time, and he said in his press conference today that he's not going to live his life playing scared. So, yeah, he doesn't take any sacks, and it has its benefits, but at the end of the day, I don't know. I wish he would hang tough in the pocket a little more. I pray Patty dances on the sideline trying to flag bait. Oh, yeah. We answer this. The Broncos would be better if Sean did not do his personal grouping crap that makes it hard to. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think they found a solution to this in the KC game. So after the bye week, I think they do a pretty good job of self-reflecting, and I think it's going to be much better after the bye. I hope Javonte scores a touchdown and jumps in the red base. That would be awesome. Dude, a Javonte legacy game tomorrow would go crazy. Watching games before 2024 is making me really grateful for the football team right now. It is. Now, my question to you is, why in the world are you torturing yourself? Why in the world are you watching games from... Actually, unless some of those 2023 games were really exciting, like the Vikings one, like the Bills one. Oh, yeah. I rewatched the Broncos-Bengals game last season, and I noticed the second or third quarter, Drew Sanders played a lot. He did. Strnad got benched in that game, I'm pretty sure, because Gesicki was running wild, and then they benched Strnad, and Gesicki was still running wild against Cody Barton and PJ Locke. But yeah, I'm really, really proud of Strnad, the way he's developed and improved, because honestly, yeah. I was at the Vikings game in 2023, my first Broncos game. Dude, who could have known that Broncos-Vikings with Josh Dobbs would be such a heater, would be the heater that it was. Burrow's on the same path as Luck. I don't think he has the bright idea or want Andrew to retire rather than try and play behind that turnstile of an offensive line the Bengals have. Yeah, I get what you're saying. The craziest thing is even with their offensive line like not being that good, they still are really, really formidable as a unit always. Okay, I'm not going to go for too much longer because I feel like my streams have been ending at like 1 a.m. the past 2 nights. And honestly, I got shit I want to do. I want to play, or I want to watch the Avs game from tonight back over because the Avs are an absolute unit. But I'll go for a little longer though. Because we got 24 of y'all in here, and I love the fact that we have. Yes, oh my God, that game was painful to sit through because our offense was stagnant. It felt like in the 2023 season, we were always getting turnovers, and then we just couldn't capitalize on them. Like our 2023 team, we went on that win streak, and I feel like our offense was the least opportunistic offense I'd ever seen. But yeah, no, that 2023 game was crazy. I remember, I forget who, Jonathan Cooper, I think, got absolutely juked by Josh Dobbs. Broncos Vikings game was the one KJ should have been thrown out for lining up Josh Dobbs. I remember that hit. I don't agree. I think that hit was perfectly clean. Like, I'm just being so for real. I know Kareem Jackson had the reputation, but I remember on Twitter everybody being like, Kareem Jackson, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, dude, I felt like that hit was completely fine. Yeah, honestly, that game was so worth it. Like, that game, as much as I loved to beat the Chiefs that year, that Vikings game was so elite. I remember I got food poisoning the day after because I had worked the F1 race in Vegas 2 days before, and we had that Sunday off, so which was the Broncos Vikings game. And I remember I went crazy. And maybe the food poisoning was just the trade-off for the Broncos winning that game, but that was so sick. Avs are winning the cup. They might never lose in the playoffs. I wouldn't go that far. Like, you say this, and then it takes Dallas getting hot at the right time, and then we're going to play against Dallas, and we know how those series go. It's going to be a long series. It's going to be one where Dallas, anytime they have a chance, it's going to wind up in the back of our net, and we have to scratch and claw, and we're going to outshoot them 40-20 every game. But it's going to be a series where we lose every overtime game, and yeah. Man, I hope so. They're so fun to watch. Like, people ask me my second favorite sports team besides the Broncos. It is the Avs. Far and away the Avs. Then again, I kind of just grew up watching hockey. My theory with hockey or basketball, and if it's your second favorite sport, is if you grew up like in anywhere east of Broadway, like I'm pretty sure if you grew up in like Cherry Hills or Greenwood Village or Aurora, you're probably a Nuggets fan. But if you grew up in like Highlands Ranch or Castle Rock or Littleton, you're probably an Avs fan for your second favorite team. I cannot believe Wedgwood and Blackwood are that good. Like, I really can't. Never seen two goalies both get shut out back-to-back games before. That's insane. That's insane. And Wedgwood and Blackwood flat out stole us some games on the road. They stole us that game in Nashville, and they stole us that game in Chicago. I would. Yeah, I would definitely consider a meetup watch party. I don't know what it would be for. I don't know if it'd be for a game because, travel during football season is just really tough because it's, the holidays and it's winter. I feel like people just have more time in the summer. So maybe I would do like a draft party ultimately. But yeah. So yeah, I'm telling you one thing. I'm not coming to Compton anytime soon. Yeah, I'm just giving you shit. But yeah, I would definitely consider a meetup watch party. And eventually when David comes back to Colorado, I imagine I'm going to be meeting him. But yeah, I've already met Jeremy. I've already met Mark. So I'm going to try to meet Mark. I'm going to try to go see Mark again. I got to do that before my surgery. But yeah, talking about this a little more, like Kareem Jackson in 2023 was such an enigma because Kareem Jackson was clearly declined. Kareem Jackson was clearly a declining player, but then he was just doing all that, and it was insane. It was insane. Like, I felt like a couple of the hits weren't really that bad. Like, I know this sounds like cop-out and copium, and I know he was our player, but still, I didn't think he was really that dirty. Like, I think the game against Washington, he got kicked out, and rightfully so. Like, that was so stupid. And it cost us the game. Week 1 against the Raiders that same year, he did the same thing. So, yeah, but I think he kind of suffered from what Riley Moss had, but I think Kareem Jackson was more of an actual offender than Moss is right now. 2022 Avs playoff run was insane. I remember I had I had my tonsils removed in the day of the first Blues game or second Blues game, I think it was. And then I remember recovering and just sitting in my room and watching Naz get that hat trick. And I remember I was at my friend's house watching Game 6 where the Avs beat the Blues. Oh my God. There are just so many amazing memories I have from that. And then the night we actually clinched, I remember being in the basement with like 45 people at my friend's house. And I remember all of us just going insane. Insane. 2022 Avs playoff run was so much fun. But I'm telling you one thing. I'm ready for the Broncos to go on another deep playoff run. I'm ready for the highs. I'm ready for the lows. I'm ready for the heartbreak. I'm ready for the triumph. Because I'm going to be honest, I was 14 during Super Bowl 50. Like, yes, I was still a huge fan of the team. Don't get me wrong. But now, oh my God, I think I'm more in a position to let it just take over my life than I was back then. Like, obviously, football still took over my life back then. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to put that. Nobody cares. Cry more. I think that's the guy that always comes in here and says we need to trade Bo Nix, and he just made a different account this time again. 2023 K-Jack was just assassinating people. Yeah. Yeah. Literally. I was 8 in Super Bowl 50, so you are a youngin'. You are a true youngin'. So you got to be, what, 17, 18 right now? 17, 18? Caramel cookies? It's funny because I remember I was doing the same thing you were doing at this age. I was watching other sports creators on YouTube, and I was like, dude, I want to be a part of that. But yeah, man, I would love for this new generation of Broncos fans to get something awesome to cheer about. 2023 K-Jack was just assassinating people. You know he was. 18, hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. Now you can go into the nightclubs. Now you can buy tobacco. I'll go for 5 more minutes, then I'll get out of here at 11:55 p.m. But yeah, any other thoughts you guys have? Oh yeah, 2023 K-Jack, I think, was in the last gasp of his time in the NFL. Yeah, I think he was trying to do the same thing. I think he tried to compensate for not being able to cover. Yeah. This one was more memorable to me too. Actually, no, it wasn't. But I think the C.J. Anderson walk-off run against the Patriots in the snow was definitely my favorite moment. Like, I was in the stadium when that happened. I remember, turning to my cousin. I was 14, he was 12, and we were just jumping up and down next to my dad and my uncle. I'm going to see if I can find a picture of me at Broncos Patriots, that 2015 game. I was 26, almost went to the Super Bowl, but I was having twins. Hell yeah, man. Honestly, having twins is more important. Trust me, having twins is more important. But yeah, hold on. I'm going to see if I can. So remember, they do. That's why I'm not scared. I'm not scared if we get the Patriots, especially if Campbell's not back. Now, if Campbell is back, that's a huge game changer, but we'll see. Broncos should trade for Darnell Washington. They should. Unfortunately, the trade deadline has passed, but I think that's worth revisiting this offseason. I don't know why I keep burping. All right, y'all. Here is me My cousin, my dad, my uncle at the Broncos Patriots snow game, walk-off snow game, CJ Anderson. Found it on my dad's Facebook. Owen Daniels, yeah, he came up clutch for us sometimes. I remember he caught 2 touchdowns in the AFC Championship that year. And I remember he caught the first pass in Super Bowl 50. I remember we went under center this time because we didn't want any issues with the football. But yeah, I know, dude. I've been spoiled rotten to go to some really awesome games. I've been to both AFC Championships that have happened in the past. I was at the 2014 one and the 2016 one that we had here. I was at the Manning 7-touchdown game against Baltimore. Justin Jefferson for 2 first-rounders, you doing it? 1,000%. Yes, absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. If this is all it costs, I am 1,000% in. Because those 2 first-rounders are likely going to be late. And, yeah, the best receiver in football for that. Yeah. That one was crazy. That one was actually crazy. But yeah, the first touchdown, because our offense started so hot, and I was like, where has this offense been? Tom Brady has a losing record against the Broncos. I will say, I think he's 500. I think he's 500 against us all time, but with the Patriots, he was 8-9. David said no, LMAO. I'll have to talk to David about that next time we get together on Horsepower Hour. The walk-off snow game was the one last gasp for Brock Osweiler time as a Bronco before he got butthurt and went to Houston. Yeah, but he started like 3 or 4 more games after that too. I think he started week 18 or week 17 against the Chargers, then got benched. And I think that was truly his last gasp here. What I will say about Osweiler, I think it was really, really stupid of this team. I would have offered him a blank check and said, listen, anything you want. Oh, shit. Sorry if you guys heard that. I hit my mic. But anything you guys want, anything you want, take it, because we were not in a position to rebuild with the Seaman Demon and Paxton Lynch going into that draft or whatever. Talking about Owen Daniel. Oh, yeah. Do you think it's possible for the Broncos to get at least 6 sacks next game? Yes, I think it's very possible. The only thing I will say, it looks like it's going to be more of a rock fight than we anticipated because it looks like the rain's going to be pretty bad, but we should have no problem getting to Mariota. There is no other environment like Mile High in the playoffs. Trust me. I know. Like, I've been able to experience it growing up. When I was in like 5th through 9th grade, I went to all those playoff games. Yeah, losing against the Ravens and Colts in the divisional round both times hurt. But, yeah, there is no other environment. Problem with post-Manning is that Elway was just wanting to reload with a new quarterback. Yeah, and that didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me because Brock Osweiler showed that he could at least be capable. So, yeah, but either way, it's midnight. I'm going to get out of here because usually my streams go super long. I've already been on here an hour 30. But, yeah, I just don't want to go to bed at like 4 a.m. tonight. But, yeah, either way, I hope you guys have an amazing night. I hope Crumble Cookies, Cairo, T-Fishes, Roan, all the guys in the chat, David early on, I hope you all have an amazing Thanksgiving. And GG's in the chat. Good stream. Thank you. Yeah, it feels quick. Feels like time goes by like that whenever I'm with y'all. So if you guys are watching on the replay, make sure you leave a like if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're not already. And overall, yeah. Peace out. Go Broncos. Yeah, go Cowgirls tomorrow. Oh, absolutely. Go Cowgirls. All right. Later, y'all.